The contractor's up to him to use the best method for wastewater capture. And if you have a permanent facility like where you're washing trucks, cars, or anything, that's best. You can put it down portable containment. And then the secondary is to stop up the storm drains and do some type of diversion with what I call water control devices. Hot water is anything above 110 degrees Fahrenheit. These rules are basically for cosmetic cleaning, which means you're not going to be doing industrial cleaning, especially if it concerns hazardous waste. And if you comply with everything and there's problems with the wastewater, you're liable for the cleanup. The following the rules doesn't give you a release from liability. You've got to still pay attention with what you're putting down into the sanitary sewer or on the landscaping or into the storm drain. I'll see if I can get this to go right. We want to thank the city and the county for working with UAMCC. We've been diligently working since about January. In the last 60 days, up until about 9 o'clock last night, we were still trying to get everything ironed out. Nothing down the drain but rain. The Clean Water Act went into effect in 1972. The Clean Water Act, as we went over, prohibits anything down the drain but rain without a permit, which is going to be NPDES permits. There's been very few, if any, contract cleaners that have been able to get these NPDES permits. Mostly it's been people that's went out in county areas that's got them. And if you're inside a municipality, the NPDES permit doesn't count. You're still held within the jurisdiction that you're discharging your wastewater to. The generator is responsible for the wastewater from cradle to grave, which means that your customer is a generator of the waste. Private citizens can also sue under the Clean Water Act for violations. The EPA establishes the guidelines for the municipalities, and it's basically the regulating line is the federal, state, and city, and the local ones are going to be determining the BMPs. Terminology, we've already went under industrial waste and processed wastewater and pollutants. Those are all self-describing. I think AHJ is authority having jurisdiction. That's going to apply to where you're discharging your wastewater. If you're discharging it, good groundwater contamination, you're going to be dealing with that agency. And if you discharge to the surface water, you're going to be dealing like Craig with the surface water contamination. POTW is public-owned treatment works. MS4, we've already went over that. BMPs is your best management practices. Cosmetic cleaning is the regular cleaning we're going to do. Illicit discharge, we've already covered. And FOGs is fats, oil, and greases. The regulatory line of authority is federal, state, and municipalities, and you're going to be dealing for the most part with the municipalities. Now then, that means if you're in a metroplex area and there's multiple municipalities, unless municipalities get together, you're going to be dealing with multiple regulations. Okay, the EPA would control things through their NPDES permit program. Phase 1 for cities above 100,000 went into 1993, and Phase 2 went into was 2004. And presently, those are set up in 5-year programs, and Charlotte is in year 2 of their 5-year program at the present time. Rusty already covered the general areas there. Why so much attention is on account of the EPA is becoming more aggressive in this area, and it's filtering down to where it's reaching the cosmetic cleaning level now. In other words, it's this industry that's been being affected. At first they went after, just like when you're at home, you have a stack of bills, you take your worst problems first. Now then it's getting down to the problems that are affecting this industry, and that's true all across the United States. And locally in the city of Charlotte, it'd be Craig Miller. In Mecklenburg County, it'd be Rusty Rozelle. And the Charlotte Mecklenburg Utilities is Regina. She'll be speaking later on. As Rusty already went over, they have a 311, which is their non-emergency hotline, which is their most avenue for enforcement action. Pollutants. The common pollutants from this industry are surfactants, detergents, fats, oil, and greases are the main things. And Regina says that it's getting more difficult for their POTW to handle the gasolines and solvents and stuff like that going through the sanitary sewer systems and FOGs. You want to pay attention to where you're putting your wastewater, because you don't want to end up in the situation that this young man found himself into. The wastewater that you're into, you need to be a bit paying attention more of what you're washing off. You got solvents, lead-based paint, your hazardous things that can make it hazardous. I won't go through all of those. You can read those. The contract cleaner needs to try to avoid hazardous waste if at all possible. BMPs for containment. In this particular slide, you'd want to pre-clean, basically with a leaf blower or some type of, to get rid of the debris off. You want to put down water containment devices where you can pick it up. And this contractor would probably run it through an oil absorbent boom. Pre-cleaning, if you use dry methods where you don't have any water runoff, if the water doesn't reach the waters of the state, there's no requirement of the Clean Water Act. So you always want to pre-clean, and you significantly reduce your reliability, your liability, if the water doesn't reach waters of the United States. If you take it to sanitary sewer, if you collect it and take it to a proper disposal facilities. Always pre-cleans, use absorbents, sweep and vacuum to pick up the litter and debris, and absorbents, and properly dispose of the absorbents and debris. Turn on that other light so I can see my slides a little bit better, please. Yeah, I think you can still see that all right. Wastewater control devices. In this particular case, down at the bottom, we have an oil absorbent boom, and those will pick up all the oil sheen. And in the Clean Water Act, it says no oil sheen after the oil absorbent boom. This is a vacuum berm. We have a couple of different examples out in the hallway. That's a vacuum sludge filtering system, and we got some examples of a vacuum out there. And this is a water dam, and we got. Oh, thank you.
Push that bottom button.
Okay. We got the vacuum sludge filtering system. That's a water dam. And we got water dams and some sand dams out there in the hallway for you to look at. Again, this is your oil absorbent dam. You notice there's oil sheen in front. There's no oil sheen afterward. It picked up 100% of the water. It's all dry behind that. That's just a secondary containment device. In other words, you see that there's not a lot of expense in that particular item right there.